Hi, I am Rachel McCloud. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And today I want to talk to you about the topic of living most of your life in a survival state. And this is something I hear a lot from clients. This is, gosh, more real than we give credit to. And it's a huge challenge, and this is a very painful situation that many people are learning to cope with and are thriving in many areas of their life, except for some of the most important areas, which is how they're treating themselves, their self-talk, how they're treating their loved ones, how their ability to connect or not connect. And a lot of this has to do with living in a survival state. And I really want to talk about that because, gosh, this is something my clients are talking about when why they're choosing to work with me. This is something that people are saying all the time, and I want you to understand that brains are functioning much different in a survival state than it is in a regulated, restful, safe state. The brain function is entirely different. And so, if you're in a survival state, you're going to be in a state of some level of fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn. And this is just something that you stay in, that may be a very light level, or maybe you might be somebody that everybody knows, hey, walk on eggshells around them because they get really mad, or they get. This is also the case when people who have habits and patterns of oversleeping, right? Or others who are manipulating others, or who are being passive aggressive, and that's their way of being. This is a lot about a dysregulated nervous system, and that also means someone who's living in a survival state of some kind and cannot shift out. And at some level, this stuff is running. And this also is happening when you find people who have to have lots of stimulation. They have to have the radio on, they have to have the TV on, they have to have their app on, they have to be scrolling, they have to be doing multiple things at the same time just to get some peace and quiet in their mind, which you would think is opposite, right? But they know, they've learned the trick that if they keep their mind busy, it won't go do the healing functions. And that means it won't go into the pain that needs to be processed. And that pain is constantly moving through their system, constantly putting them in a survival state. And that pain might be decades old, but by this time, they've figured out how to stay ahead of it, how to stay um, from being chewed up or spiraled out by it. And but that's a lot of work. Most of us don't understand that they're that they're doing a lot of work. We just think they're unavailable emotionally. We just think they're always throwing a pity party. They're always this or that. Typically, those are some really good signs that they're living in a survival state, and this is so painful. And this is a state that's very expensive to us emotionally, mentally. It's expensive to our vitamins and minerals. It's expensive to our relationships. It's expensive to our body. And so it's something that we have to really fight hard to get out of if our body is not doing this naturally. And so what happens is that we have these tricks that we use, right? Like I just talked about, the doing multiple things at the same time, staying really busy, staying distracted. Emotional eating works for this. We have to do something to get out of a survival state. It's so expensive emotionally. And it kind of looks like, if you like the ducks in the water, they look calm on the outside, but underneath they're paddling, 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 paddling. Been here, done that. And and then the coping, right? Needing to read the novels, needing to, which we're not talking about novel reading for fun, right? We're talking about obsessive novel reading, right? Um, where you're not really doing life because you need to stay somewhere else besides right here. It's not safe to be here. That's one of the biggest signs that someone is in a survival state, that their body is actually saying, their emotional wellness, their mentality is, it's not safe to be here. Right? You'll see this in distraction. You'll see this in dissociation, people walking around in dissociation. This is the brain saying it's not safe to be here. You go sit over there. We'll do this whole life thing. It's not safe to be here. It's very painful. Depression is another thing that says it's not safe to be here. Hey, let's just numb this whole thing out. Let's just make this whole thing quiet. That's the brain saying it's not safe to be here. So we're going to be in a survival state. And if you could see your brain function, you would see that it's just not the same. And so many people who are in this have massive amounts of guilt. They they have massive amounts of shame because why aren't they like everybody else? They have massive amounts of pushing themselves and being very hard on themselves because they need to work internally. They're actually working 2, 3 times, 5 times harder than everyone else just to do the regular thing because their brain function and energy is going in other directions. So much energy is going into survival that it's very little is going into how can I thrive. That's a brain function thing. And that's this. And I took a call from someone recently who signed up for a call with me. I offer complimentary calls to look at what people are experiencing and then help them create a step-by-step plan to get out of this problem and resolve it. And we were talking about, and she said, I don't know if I'm kind of the kind of person you help. Um, because she didn't have any overt trauma, right? And the anxiety looks very different, but she's spending her time numb and she feels a lot of shame over everyday little things. Somebody else who's just constantly feeling blamed and feel like they deserve bad things. That they deserve, well, you deserve to have this happen. You deserve to have that happen. People sleeping all day, people not being able to sleep. All of this stuff is staying in a survival state and being in there for a really long time. And you can. You can stay in this state for a lifetime, especially. And a lot of times, what happens, and I've covered this in depth in a video, it's on my website, RachelMcCloud.com. And it's called Recovering from Trauma, How to Feel Safe for the First Time. I go through this a lot and I talk about the pattern of our nervous system and how our nervous systems can learn to get dysregulated. And our parents are actually part of our nervous system. If you have children, you are part of their nervous system and you're part of the nervous system regulation. They actually don't know how to do it yet. And your job is to help them learn how to regulate their nervous system. But if you don't know how to regulate your own nervous system, it's going to be very difficult to repattern and pattern their nervous system in a way that is regulated because it's not something your nervous system has learned, so it's not something it can give. Now, this is happening with us. I use you as an example because you can understand that. If you're working your tail off to regulate your kid's nervous system because you've read the books, kudos to you. And this still, if your nervous system isn't regulated, it's going to be very difficult for you to accomplish this. But I want you to see that this is something that should have been done by your parents. And they may not have been able to, they may not have known how to, they may have been passed a lot of crappy parenting tools that just did not work. Or no, even maybe they've been wonderful, but they just didn't know how to do this. And that's really when we're young and we're children where we get dysregulated, we start crying or we throw a fit and our parents come in and help us and our nervous system regulates. Right? That's healthy. Sometimes we get dysregulated. Our parents are horrified by, embarrassed, and they just start saying, "Shh, be quiet. You're big enough. You should be able to do this." And now we're higher regulated. Interacting with our parents taught us that this is we just go up. Our nervous system dysregulation just skyrockets, and then we stay there because maybe they don't know how to bring us down. We haven't found our own ways to self-soothe because that's a difficult process. Self-soothing. It's important, but it's actually a lot easier when your parents are teaching you how to do this and your nervous system is learning, oh, this is how you do it. And the deal is that all of that ability is in your brain right now, is in your system right now. It just has to be wired in. You just need to do the work to wire it. That's why we can resolve this at any time. A lot of the symptoms you're facing right now are actually clues and cues for you to resolve this nervous system dysregulation. And actually that's one of the predominant features we're doing when we resolve symptoms of anxiety, depression, or traumatic stress. We're finding a place where you're feeling anxious, or your heart's racing, or your stomach or is dropping, or your tension there, and we work on that issue. We help your brain resolve that issue. The tension in your shoulders drop out. Your brain learns a lot of what that meant, because that's all a lot of it's a lot of subconscious somatic material, emotions. It's different. It's stuff. And it grows. You have growth from just processing that thing, and your brain learns, oh, that's what that tension is for. Oh, that's what that is that sinking stomach sensation is for. Or, oh, that's why I was anxious. Oh, we don't need to be afraid of that. And then it goes and fixes the problem for you. So these, as we help the brain process these symptoms of anxiety, the brain is like, oh, and goes to fix problems for you. And this makes things so much easier. And as we do that, we're doing that, we're actually giving your brain the opportunity to complete its process for resolving something and regulating. It was bad, it got processed, and now it's coming back into calm. And so your brain is learning that, oh, when we go up here, we can also come back down. Who knew? And you do this over and over and over again until your nervous system starts doing it itself, because nervous systems are always learning. They're always learning, they're always growing. This really is such a simple process. But until your brain can do this process, which if it could do this process, it would have done it already. So what we know is that your brain cannot do this project without specific support. And until this problem gets resolved, you're going to continue to have these problems. And what I'm seeing that people are having problems with are simple problems, like even not being able to hug people, not being able to come into their homes and be with their family and feel calm and relaxed, feeling like they have to pretend with their loved ones and their friends, feeling like walking on eggshells around everybody. Whatever the, I've just, this is such a common, this is always an underlying theme of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress. And so it's something I really take for granted, but if you're in it, you can feel it. If you're in it, it's why things are 3,000 times harder. If it's something that has happened recently and now something that you were doing is really difficult, that's this. If you've got a life full of procrastination or hoarding or yelling at your loved ones or feeling snappy and irritable, that's what this is. This is, your brain is actually shifting into a survival state over and over and over again all day long. And once it shifts into a survival state, then it has to figure out if it's safe to come out yet, if it's safe to come out yet. And so it has to do some things to regulate. Right. And so this, and this is really difficult for me to explain, but all of us is always sending information and communication about our healing and how to heal all the time. And its goal is to get it to the front of the brain, because your body is not a problem solving place. It's like a receptive place. It's a receptor. It receives information and it sends it to the brain so that the brain knows what's going on. It's how we know how big our spaces are. Our body's sending messages about it. It's measuring it. And our subconscious mind is creating scenarios, creating for us. And it's not a problem solving center. And so it's constantly finding things that need to be solved and trying to put it to the part of the brain that solves problems. And this whole thing works together. It works together. But if any of that stuff registers as pain, and too much pain for your system to process, your survival system starts saying, whoa, there's pain. And it starts shoving it away, and it starts pushing you to do strategies to get you away from the pain, even though the pain is your own body, your own situation, sending the information to doing its function, sending the information to the front of the brain so that the problem can be understood, seen, processed, and so solved. That's the process. And it gets complicated when the survival system jumps in and starts shutting that process down. And it does shut the process down. And then you're in a survival state just because your own body is trying to do its own process, its own communication. And so then you're going into a survival state. And if you've got unresolved stuff from childhood, this has been going on for a long time, because your body will never stop sending the signals. It will never stop trying to send this problem up to the front of the brain. Your subconscious mind will never stop trying to solve your problems. All parts of you are trying to get to a goal, and they have so much to say about the goal, and if they can't get the information up there, you can't get there. You can't get to the outcome, and if you do, you can't sustain it. And they want you to be well as much as you do because it's them, right? And so this whole situation goes offline, and the result you get from it going offline when you can't get that information processed is you get survival states, and then they happen more, and then they happen more, and then they happen more, and you have strategies to cope with that. And then you get so good at those strategies you don't even know you're doing them anymore, and then they just keep going, and the next thing you know, most of your life is most every moment of your life is in a survival state. And we can resolve this. This is resolvable. Your nervous system is ready to heal. It's ready to pull this stuff out of there. And like all this subconscious brain trash that is your subconscious mind's like, I need this stuff out so I can actually get us to our goals. It's ready to go. I could actually prove to you that it's doing it right now. I'd have to, be one-on-one, but I can show you your brain trying to heal itself. And then with that information, then you're able to help your brain heal and process this. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. This is really what we're talking about. And someone, I was on another call, and I'm talking with somebody, and they were saying, I want the tools to stop this and redirect this. And I'm just like, this is bigger than stopping and redirecting. That means you have to keep working with this, right? This stuff is not supposed to be happening in the first place. This is not something that we put you in, and next thing you're chasing your brain around, hey, 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 don't do that, or stop, let's redirect. No, we actually want your brain to be doing things that you're like, awesome, good job, go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we want you doing in your brain. Not and that means your brain has to learn the right way to do things, and it can do that by itself. All this information that hasn't been processed yet is actually the codes and the information and the building blocks for wellness. If it could just get it up there, you would see the awesome things your brain could do for you. Seriously. And it's so worth doing this. And I'm going to tell you that if you've got complex childhood trauma and you've been doing this for a really long time, there's a lot of work to do. It doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to take a long time. But we need to help your brain learn some really powerful lessons and build some really powerful skills and resolve some emotional wounds. And if this is something that's just a recent thing, this is not going to take you very long. But the more you don't resolve it, the more it becomes more complex. And it becomes more complex. And these things start to spread everywhere, even where you don't want them, even where they have never been before. And sometimes we're like, okay, I'll just start over, and now it's going to be good. I've left my family, and now here I go. But guess what? They start showing up in our family, the same things. And then even though we're doing different things, we cause the same survival state situation in our children. What's that all about? Well, they're getting our nervous system. And if our nervous system is constantly in a state of fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn, a survival state, our kids are learning that. Our friendships are learning that. That's one of the challenges about being in relationships with abusers and narcissists, is that you're actually starting to attune to their nervous system. Your nervous system is starting to function to them. And when you get out of those relationships, you have to heal your nervous system from that. You have to get your nervous system to let go of some of these things that it has learned along the way. And you can. Our nervous systems are learning all the time. But it does take some work. And it does take a decision not to change, to heal, to do this work. And but gosh, you have no idea how much time, energy, resources, and relationship bandwidth this is taking up for you. And it's really can be really shocking to go ahead and look at that. And so I encourage you to not just look at it, but then make decisions to get the help you need to heal. And if this is something you want to talk with me about, grab a spot on my calendar. I'm doing complimentary calls where I will take a look at what you're experiencing and help you create a plan to get out. whether that's with me or using your own resources, whatever, it's time to heal. So you can grab a spot on my calendar by going to rachelmccloud.com/call, and I will call you at the time that you choose. And I have some comments here that I'm going to look at. Oh, Angelica. Um, yeah, I did obsessive novel reading right before I had a major setback. Yeah, me too. That's where I got that example from. Um, uh, Excessive novel reading, and I was playing Sudoku. I tell you this in my other videos, like I was training for the world championship. I was depressed and I was anxious, and my trauma was there, and I was suffering, and I had no idea how to get to the suffering, and and then, gosh, I didn't really use my tools then. I did know emotional freedom techniques at that time. But it's hard to learn how to watch yourself without another pair of eyes watching you, which is really what's the deal with childhood trauma, is that you're expected to wire your nervous system without the support of somebody who's attuning to you and helping you say, hey, I can see you're really upset. Hey, it looks like you're having some symptoms of depression. Hey, it seems like somebody hurt your feelings, right? That stuff helps us. That's why having a coach, having a therapist in this time can be save you so much time and energy, because we can see things, right? And so that and then and then you can heal a lot faster. And so for me in that time, once I figured it out, which I don't even think I really figured that out, I think I just kind of snapped out of it one day. And but I took off on my next growth. But now I would help myself through that a lot faster. And if I couldn't find it, I would go to a professional that could help me. If I, hey, excuse me, I'm having a problem that I can't get a hold of. Can you point that out there for me? And then I could use the tools and the strategies to get myself where I need to go. So it really this a lot of this nervous system dysregulation started because we didn't get enough support. And so it's very easy to see that one of the solutions is support, getting the support we need. And many of us are do it ourselfers. We don't want anybody around. We got this, stay back. And we need that isolation. And I know I did when I first began this. And um, we can still heal there. And there's just stuff that our nervous systems are not able to do unless they're with healthy nervous systems. So really get the support you need. Reach out, and because these signs and symptoms are here, and your brain is showing you the way out all the time. I cannot tell you. Your brain is trying to heal. It's just stuck. It needs some help. And once you have the tools and the strategies to provide that help, you really can. You've got this. So let's get you out of that survival state, and let's get you open to living your best life and to transferring that wellness to your loved ones, to your friends, being part of the collective healing and the collective regulating, right? There's a lot of scary things here right now. And so when we're around that stuff, we can just pick it up from other people, right? But we really can get our nervous system processing that and healing and using that same energy that was fear, converting it to hope and courage. And then we can send that out into the world as well and be part of that collective regulating, collective regulation. So wonderful connecting with you all. I hope that a few of you will take me up on my offer and grab a spot on my calendar. We'll talk about what's going on and how to get you where you want to go into a place of wellness and thriving. So talk with you soon. Take care.